This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'm sorry. Why don't I just go to the bank to get some cash out, and I have like 5 20s with a stamp on it that says Donald Trump lives here. It scared me so damn bad, I had to Google it. Apparently it's a stamp that Trump supporters use and put on money. They've been doing this since 2018. I'm so pissed right now. I don't want this on my money. I'm about to spend the out of these. I don't want that. Like, everything those people do is so deranged. Why are you messing with currency? Isn't that illegal, like, for them to do that? And then why does the bank... I don't have any words.
Thank you, Mr. President. How do you think that the Supreme Court's ruling that benefited you on presidential immunity would apply to former President Barack Obama and what you're accusing him of doing?
It probably helps him a lot. Probably helps him a lot, the immunity ruling. But it doesn't help the people around him at all. But it probably helps him a lot. He's done criminal acts, there's no question about it. But he has immunity, and it probably helps him a lot.
A trade agreement you're looking to sign too.
He owes me big. Obama owes me big.
What are the details in the UK trade agreement you're hoping to find soon with the Prime Minister?
This week we want to...
Obama does owe him big. And of course, the stamps are funny. People are stamping. If you look at the back of the $20 bill, some of them have the White House. And I did not know this until today. It's like one of those with those rubber stampers. Must have had a stamp made. Donald Trump lives here. Yeah.
Is it not
Carlos?
good with the stamp?
I don't even know whether he knows about it. But I've never even seen that before, but I think she just gave this woman being so irate may have given some people something else to do with their time. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Friday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, the fastest hour in American media. Okay, Donald Trump did say, and you heard him say it, ask the question, what about the immunity? What does that do with Obama if indeed the issues that have been presented to the American people regarding the coup attempt against Donald Trump in the first term, the changed intelligence and so forth. And you heard Donald Trump just say, yeah, probably helps Barack Obama a lot, the immunity ruling, but it doesn't help the people around him. One of those people, story in the Daily BS today, that according to Jonathan Turley, who's just Jonathan Turley's one of those voices that if he says something, you pay attention to it. Very rarely is Jonathan Turley proven wrong on something. I don't recall offhand anything major that he has been proven wrong on when it comes to matters of the law. But one of the things that I believe Jonathan Turley has pointed out is that Brennan may have committed perjury. Turley said, while the Supreme Court's 2024 ruling in favor of Trump claims of immunity over official acts as the president would protect Obama, both John Brennan and James Comey might not be as fortunate. It does appear a couple of these figures may have committed perjury. Mr. Turley says, I think the most vulnerable may be Brennan, who is like a 30-point buck in the open. This stuff goes directly to information that he gave to Congress, and it seems to be in contradiction. Claims, for instance, that he did not approve including the so-called Steele dossier in intelligence assessment. Well, as it turns out, there have been documents that show that he was pushing the Steele dossier. So, perjury before Congress? Yeah, that's something that can be acted upon. And also Comey. Comey asserted in 2017 that the Russians interfered in the election using overwhelming technical efforts. He says his statements were based on a high confidence judgment of the entire intelligence community. We played that soundbite for you on the show last week. It's not a close call. That happened. It's about as unfake as you can possibly get. However, the declassified files appear to contradict that statement. The files show the FBI, NSA had only a low confidence in blaming Russia for data leaks back then. So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered here. There are a lot of questions that will be answered. But as Trump indicated, his battles that led him to press the presidential immunity may, in fact, turn out to be a blessing for Barack Obama. Now, Donald Trump was also asked about that meeting that he had with Jerome Powell. That was going on during the show yesterday afternoon. I was getting the funniest memes, the funniest while it was going on with him walking through the Fed renovation project with their hard hats. Well, Donald Trump was asked about that today. That's cut 2, Carlos, and this is what President Trump said about that meeting.
I think that Jerome Powell, I think we had a very good meeting. Forgetting about the building, that's out of control and all that. But I think we had a very good meeting on interest rates. And he said to me, now I don't know if he's going to say this on Thursday or whenever he speaks, but he said to me very strongly, the country is doing well. He said, congratulations, the country is doing really well. And I got that to mean that I think he's going to start recommending lower rates.
Wow. And that would be incredible. All right, I want to shift gears for a moment and shift over to Donald Trump was also, by the way, the noise that you're hearing in the background is the helicopter. All of this was taking place on the White House lawn. He also talked about the deal with Hamas. As you know, Hamas has pulled out of any sort of peace talks with Israel, and Donald Trump was asked about that on the White House lawn. Following that, I want to go to the Abby show, and Peter Beinart. I think Peter used to be with the New Republic, but he hasn't been, I guess, for a while. Now he's considered his Chiron, says author Peter Beinart. But I recall reading a lot of Peter Beinart in the New Republic many, many years ago. And Peter Beinart also is just incensed with the situation going on in Israel. I want you to know, as many sound bites happen on this show, that I don't endorse everything Mr. Beinart says before I even play it. But I do think it's important that we view other perspectives than just our own, meaning the conservative perspective. And I think Scott Jennings asked the very pointed question, as he usually does. But I wanted you to hear from Mr. Beinart as well as President Trump. And so let's start with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, when he was asked about Hamas pulling out of the deal to try to bring some kind of resolution in Gaza with Hamas.
Yeah, Gaza, they pulled out of Gaza. They pulled out in terms of negotiating. It was too bad. Hamas didn't really want to make a deal. I think they want to die, and it's very, very bad.
Are you done with
and it got to be to a point where you're going to have to finish the job. They really they asked for things. Don't forget, we got a lot of hostages out. So now we're down to the final hostages, and they know what happens after you get the final hostages. And basically, because of that, they really didn't want to make a deal. I saw that. So they pulled out, and they're going to have to fight, and they're going to have to clean it up. You're going to have to get rid of it.
Donald Trump, you're going to have to get rid of Hamas. They don't really want a deal. Boy, is this... Anyway, I told you we would hear from Peter Beinart. He was on the Abby Phillips show before we head to a break. Let's listen into that. And he's very pointed.
Why did it take this long? I mean, in November of last year, the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu for the war crime of starvation 8 months ago, before Israel cut off all food, all water, all electricity into the Gaza Strip for 3 months. And to say the United States is silent, it's much, much worse than that. We are profoundly complicit and deeply responsible. It is our weapons that enforce this starvation. It is our diplomatic efforts that prevent international justice from being done. The blood is on our hands as Americans because it is our weapons that is responsible for those children starving to death.
No blood for the hands of Hamas?
Hamas has
lots of...
No. Why don't you let me finish? How about that? Okay?
I'm just asking.
Yes,
you blamed Israel and you blamed the U.S., but we haven't heard Hamas yet.
I actually have... One of my closest friends in college was blown up by Hamas. I have probably a lot more experience with suffering from Hamas, with all due respect, than you do. Let's say this. If we want to see who is more to blame for the starvation of children in Gaza, Hamas or Israel, let CNN in. Israel has not allowed Western journalists in since October 7th. Let them go in. Let CNN go in and decide for themselves. How about that?
How about Hamas releases the hostages and gets a ceasefire?
And let me think. What do you think would happen if Hamas
Peter,
releases
just give me
the
1
hostages?
second. Scott, let me ask.
Well, number one, CNN is not the arbiter that I would trust for anything, with all due respect, Mr. Beinart. Number two, the international court system, it seems to me that if the international court system were actually looking for justice, they would have already called for every single person involved in the leadership of Hamas in that decision to start this war. Why haven't those people been called up for war crimes? Why haven't they been called up for terrorism? Now, I'm just going to say up front, and this may cause some people some heartbreak, I don't want to see children starve. I don't want to see anybody starve. I don't want to see innocent people die. And by the way, I don't know why that's controversial, but just in case it is for you, I don't like that. No one wants to see this. But at the same time, every single effort to bring peace, as far as Hamas was concerned, as far as Hezbollah was concerned, as all of these groups that have been anti-Israel and want to see Israel punished from the, as they say, or wiped off the face of the earth, from the river to the sea, all of that. Hamas started this with a horrible massacre. To this day, they are not interested in peace. They are going to, if you heard Donald Trump, if you can be believed, they're going to be wiped out. And Israel's not going to stop until they do. They will not allow Hamas to regrow into a terrorist organization and have an opportunity to do this again. This entire situation could have been resolved after this massacre when Israel first went, if Hamas just simply surrendered and said, okay, that's the end of Hamas. None of this would be taking place. We got to take a break. James Golden, Snerdley, fastest hour in American media. We have immigration stuff to hit. We have other things that we will discuss on today's program. James Golden, Snerdley, keep it right here.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes, the Epstein stuff. Oh, man, how many weeks is this? It feels like it's a month. But anyway, the Epstein stuff is still going on. Donald Trump was asked about it outside of the White House. His response.
Well, I don't want to talk about that. What I do want to say is that Todd is a great attorney, but you ought to be speaking about Larry Summers. You ought to be speaking about some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. They're all over the place. You ought to be speaking about Bill Clinton, who went to the island 28 times. I never went to the island.
Do you maintain you did not write a letter for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday?
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot. All you have to do is take a look at the dossier, the fake dossier. Everything's fake with that administration. Everything's fake with the Democrats. Take a look at what they just found about the dossier. Everything is fake. They're a bunch of sick people. Where did you see the people laying outside?
Right across your...
Yeah. So, by the way, Donald Trump got that one in there. You talking to me about Epstein? Talk to Bill Clinton. He went to that island 28 times. I've never been to the island. Also, there was Scott Jennings responding to Jamil Hill, the former ESPN gal who was finally cut loose there. She was on the Abby Show last night. This is what that sounded like.
I'm just very satisfied by seeing him make such a huge unforced error.
I have to say, your use of the word delicious to start your comments, and then you're saying that you're very satisfied. But, we are talking about a situation here where young women were abused. This is a tragic case. Maxwell's in jail because she helped traffic the women. This is a very, very tragic case. I see Democrats and people on the left taking great political delight in this because they don't care one bit about the victims. They only started caring this about 5 minutes ago. They only started caring 5 minutes ago when it was a cudgel against Trump. So this kind of language where we just sort of laugh about the situation but forget the underlying issue, the victims here, to me, it's
so
beyond the pale.
What's your solution to?
My friends, don't go away. We've got so much more.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'm a legal immigrant from Mexico. And yes, I love America. I didn't come here to complain. I came here to contribute. And I went viral for saying what many are afraid to say. This country isn't perfect, but it's still the best chance for freedom in the world. I believe in faith, family, and freedom. I believe in the Constitution. I taught it for 24 years in my teaching career. And I believe America is worth defending with truth, with courage, and with love. So, if you're tired of the noise, tired of the hate, and still are proud to live in this country, because our voices matter more than ever.
Yes, indeed. James Golden, Snerdley, fastest hour in American media. Hey, Carlos, I'm going to switch things up on you. Let's play this sound bite. I can't find the news story. I have it here buried among the others, but I know the news story. So I'll just do it. Play cut 8. I want you to listen to this. Okay, you're not going to be able to make out much, but just I'll explain what's going on. Just this.
Is he alone?
This is inside a medical building.
Hey, let go.
This is ICE trying to apprehend an illegal immigrant. Now, the backstory on all this is the illegal immigrant was outside. ICE was trying to apprehend him. He runs inside a medical clinic. So ICE follows him in there. Members of the medical staff interfered with ICE. One of these persons that was, hey, get off him. They put themselves between ICE agents and the person. They tried their best to stop ICE from making an arrest in it. Well, and this thing got a lot of play. There was video of it released all over the internet. A lot of television stations picked it up. Well, there's been a footnote to the story. 2 of the people that interfered with ICE, one has been arrested and is in custody today. The other is on the loose, and they are still looking for him. Apparently, he's running away from ICE because he realizes he's going to be tossed in jail, too, for interfering with ICE agents doing their jobs. So that's one thing that's happening on the immigration front. that I wanted to bring your attention to. The other is Ron DeSantis is continuing to be pounded. He's saying now that he hopes Alligator Alcatraz, they've already started flights. And he's saying he wants the flights here. I have this story right here. Let me see what he says. DeSantis says he hopes that Florida will become a force multiplier for deportation. Story today in The Hill. I don't want it to be where illegals are just stored there and then just kind of sitting. I want it to be where illegals are here. There's an aggressive processing and aggressive deportation schedule. He was asked by reporters again about all these horror stories that Democrats come up with about how horrible it is in Alligator Alcatraz, and he did have a response to it. Cut 7, this is what the governor of Florida, happens to be, I think that's Princess Diana's favorite governor in America. It is. Oh, thank you for confirming that, Carlos. Yeah. This is what Ron DeSantis had to say about it.
That they are not, there are several families that are saying that the people inside the facility that are their family members aren't getting medications. Can you explain this and talk about that?
So I like Kevin, but I'm sure he's going to debunk it. I mean, seriously, you have to ask yourself on some of this stuff, just the desire to create narratives, and these Democrat politicians parading down here and doing all this stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, I've never seen one of you show up to comfort an angel mom who's lost a child because of illegal alien crime. I've never seen you raise any concern about the victims of illegal immigration. Not one time have I seen these Democrats caravan anywhere in this state, hold a press conference to be able to stand in solidarity with victims. I've never seen that. These are stunts that they're pulling because they're increasingly politically irrelevant in this state, and they're trying to latch on to whatever they can, to create phony narratives. But I will let Kevin address that.
Okay, so you have that. Now let's switch gears. The Colbert situation is still got certain people hot. The United States Senate has some real characters in it. Some of them, I don't understand how they could get into a body such as the United Senate or the United States Senate, what it's supposed to be. I don't understand, for instance, how Hawaii's Senator Hirono made the mix. I don't understand how there are some others, how this guy Blumenthal out of Connecticut made the mix, especially after admitting that he was part of the whole stolen valor problem that exists from time to time, claimed that he was a war hero when in fact he wasn't, or that he had participated, by the way, in military action in the Vietnam conflict. And he lied about his military record, in short. Don't know how he made it in the Senate. And he's there wagging his... I don't know how the Senator of White House makes it in there. This guy still goes to segregationist country clubs, and yet still he's always lecturing stuff, lecturing people on their positions. I don't understand this voice, and many of you that follow politics know this voice very well. Cut 14, Carlos. It is a voice with an amazing past, and most of us wonder how she stays in the Senate. She is still upset over Paramount. By the way, yesterday the news was announced, the FTC said okay for the Paramount merger, SKYDANCE. Yes, it's on. And of course that has certain liberals' heads are on fire because of it. Here's one.
Huge breaking news just dropped. Trump approved Paramount's $8 billion merger with SKYDANCE, another giant media company.
The FTC did it. Right?
This could be corruption, and here's the reason why. Maybe you saw that Stephen Colbert's show was canceled last week. Well, just 3 days before it was canceled, Colbert called out Trump and Paramount, which is CBS's parent company, for making a deal that looks like a, quote, big fat bribe. Those were his words. So what's that quote-unquote potential bribe that Colbert was referring to? Trump filed a sham lawsuit against CBS.
It wasn't a sham lawsuit.
But instead of fighting it, CBS's parent company, Paramount, paid Trump $16 million to his future presidential library. So you got to ask, why'd Paramount do that if the suit was, quote, meritless? Well,
because it wasn't.
Because they needed Trump to approve their multi-billion-dollar merger, which Trump just did. The appearance of this wink-wink deal basically lets every other company and every other billionaire know that Trump is open for business, apparently happy to accept offers in exchange for favors. On top of that, this deal is bad for competition and could make it more expensive for you to stream your favorite TV shows or movies or sports or whatever. So, just like I've been doing
exactly,
for weeks,
Carlos?
I'm calling
Carlos
for
is
an
asking how.
urgent, independent investigation into this Paramount deal to see if this was actually bribery. And make no mistake, these CEOs may think that they can get away with anything they want, but they are not immune from the law. Bribery is still illegal. None of us can be silent about this, because you better believe Donald Trump isn't stopping here. Already, he's seemingly running the same play by suing the Wall Street Journal for publishing a story that Trump doesn't like about his parent relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Look, every single one of us needs to show Trump and the CEOs that we see what they are doing, and we will not be silenced.
You know, one of the things I wish would happen, and it won't happen, is that somebody would haul Elizabeth Warren's ass into court and sue her for slander. See, this is what Democrats do. They slander people on a regular basis. Number one, she claims as a premise that the lawsuit that Trump was waging against CBS, 60 Minutes, was a meritless suit. It was not meritless. 60 Minutes did a veiled end around to try to promote the campaign of Kamala Harris by selectively editing and trying to make her appear to be a lot smarter than she was, a lot more informed than she was, a lot more credible than she was at a crucial moment in the presidential campaign with this interview that she gave to them. They did it purposely to hurt Trump's campaign and to help theirs. He's calling them out. The thing that liberals don't like is that their allies in the mainstream media are being called out and called George Stephanopoulos with the lies that he told about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the only Republican president that has ever said, I'm not just going to turn the other cheek here. I'm going to sue their asses off. Because they're lying and they're creating false narratives like they always have. And guess what? These media companies are now put on notice. You all the time you've been doing this to Republicans ever since Richard Nixon. They've been running the same game on Republicans. And no Republican had the cojones enough to back their asses into court and sue the hell out of them. Donald Trump has. And this is not new, by the way. Donald Trump's recourse to go for litigation is nothing new. It is part of his DNA. He's been doing it long before he ran for office. He's not afraid of a courtroom. Democrats are, because they've been guilty of doing I shouldn't say guilty, liable in these situations, or they believe that they could be liable, which is why they settle. Now, at the same time Colbert got knocked off, his show was losing $40 million a year, a season. $40 million. That doesn't that doesn't raise any questions among this alleged senator. I guess she thinks they should just subsidizing Colbert because he's so anti-Trump, instead of looking at their bottom line. At the same time, Carlos informed me of the deal, which thank you, Carlos, of the deal they were making with South Park. And it's $1 billion deal. And South Park has been on a tear. The episode that they have 2 episodes. The one that they have with Trump and Satan. I've seen clips from that. OMG. It's rough stuff. By the way, those of you that take the issue of blasphemy very seriously, you don't want to see this. You do not want to see this episode with their cartoon image of Jesus throwing out the F-bomb and pretending to be afraid of Donald Trump, et cetera, et cetera. You don't want to see it. But Scott Jennings was asked about that, and he surprised people. 13. And this is what Jennings had to say about South Park, which is now part of SKYDANCE, Paramount, and they went for the jugular with Donald Trump on this episode.
The lesson here is that if you're funny and you make money and people want to watch your show, you can do things. And if you're not funny and you're committed to partisan liberal hackery that's hemorrhaging viewers and is not profitable, then you can't do things. And just a few days ago, the left was convinced that Colbert was fired for political reasons. Obviously, this company is airing material that is not favorable to Donald Trump. It is objectively hilarious. I watch every episode of these guys and have for years. I think it's great. But
so you're cool with it?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
There you go.
So you're cool with it? You're cool with South Park? Hey, this is what South Park does. South Park skewers everybody. And that's the difference that you people don't understand on the left. Yeah, they'll skewer Trump, but they make fun of every single Democrat hero there is. In fact, they had a very funny episode about Trump cutting PBS and NPR. They skewer both sides. And that's what you people don't understand. So when they skewer your side, you take it. Well, okay. They're going after my guy. But they go after the left, too, unlike most of the leftist programming. So, yeah, people watch it. And by the way, even though the stuff is blasphemous, even though their stuff is out of control, a lot of people do think that the skits that they put together, the taglines, are funny. And by the way, this Trump thing that they did, it's disgusting with the same-sex relationship with Satan in the boudoir. Satan's old boyfriend that he used to date, who apparently abused him, was Saddam Hussein in early episodes of South Park. And you talk about some disgusting episodes. Oof. Anyway, we got to take a break. I have friends that I've tried to get to watch certain episodes of South Park. They will not watch it. They're like, no, I am never going to watch that show.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Attention student loan borrowers enrolled in the SAVE plan. On August 1st, the Department of Education will resume charging interest on your loans.
This
change is required by law. When you take out a loan, you must pay it back. The Biden administration attempted loan forgiveness to win points with their voters, but federal courts have repeatedly ruled these actions are unlawful. The truth is, there is no such thing as loan forgiveness. It's just shifting debts from one party to another.
Stop it.
The Trump administration will not allow the American taxpayer to take on debts that are not their own.
Say, girl? What you
the
say?
department stands ready to help you identify a new and legal repayment plan.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a borrower enrolled in the illegal SAVE plan, please visit studentaid.gov to learn about affordable repayment options.
Okay. Well. Ladies and gentlemen, 1970 was the year. Karen Carpenter, the Carpenters, began a month-long run at number one on the U.S. singles charts. Written in 1963 by Hal David and Burt Bacharach, first offered to Herb Alpert over at A&M. He didn't do this song because he didn't want to sing that line, "They sprinkled moon dust in your hair." Poor. Anyway, I'm glad Karen took it. That's karma. Tomorrow, America's Small Caffeinated Mom, the answer and anecdote for those people offended by South Park will be with us. Lizzie will be with us. And, of course, Princess Diana. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude always, my friends, for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. God willing, we are all back early tomorrow morning. Well, not Carlos, but we'll be here. God willing. So in the meantime, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?